Fire Radio.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 51 of the Size Up by National Fire Radio, because what you do off the job matters. And I want to give a huge thank you to everybody who has been reaching out either publicly or privately or on the 8 million ways you could reach out to myself or anybody at National Fire Radio, really, and giving some compliments about my last episode with my son, Finn, because I'm not going to lie, that was like the coolest episode I've ever recorded. And I mean, I live with the kid. As my wife posted on her social media page, we made him. And you're like, we made him. Oh my God, I made this kid. Like I've been his formed, like I formed him in these 13. I literally formed him. That's a whole different podcast though. But like in watching him grow over these years and the comments about his empathy and his depth of thought, like none of that shit, I'm gonna curse again, I don't care, was fake. That was him. That was my son. So thank you to everybody for reaching out and appreciating that. I even like the folks that have reached out already. They listened to it and then they made their kids listen to it, which was kind of cool to give Finn kind of a cool role in a younger kid's age group and almost be a leader, right? And that's interesting because I segue right in to my guest today, Mr. Mike Nasti of Tip of the Spear Leadership, who was all about leadership, right? Pretty much from what I can tell.
Trying, yes. Yep.
Leadership, yes. Tech stuff, no. Easy way to put it.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head with that.
It's so funny because, you host a podcast as well. And I'm sure you get this question or people asking you, like, they're like, I want to start a podcast. Like, I want to start a podcast. And, my answer is always don't do it, but do it. But it's not this part, right? This is the fun part of the podcast, the actual interview, getting to spend an hour with you. It's all the other stuff that I can't stand.
Yeah, it's the extra stuff. It's, it kind of feels like every episode something goes wrong. It's inevitable. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, whether it's, deleting an episode unintentionally, getting an hour and 20 minutes into an episode with a very well-known person only to realize you never hit record. Done that.
I did that once.
Did that, went back and re-recorded. It was great. It really was. But, it's hard to say what would have been, or just like getting on here, some type of connection problem or volume or something. It's always something. So now that I know to expect it, it
100%.
It doesn't shock you anymore.
Yeah, 100%. I expect everything that can possibly go wrong to go wrong. And when little things do, I'm like, all right, we made it another one. That's my big success, not the interview itself. The fact that we made it. Actually, the big success is when Sebi gets it out the Tuesday that it's due. I'm like, now we've made it. It's out there in space.
That's funny.
And then I pick up all these little things when I listen to where I'm like, oh, dude, that was bad. Like, or you could hear my dog in the background or something.
Yeah.
Like.
No, I've had that a few times. When I first started, it was my cell phone and earbuds. So like I don't do it anymore, but I would like walk around as I was talking. Like that's how I would be on my cell. Like if I'm talking to somebody on my cell phone, I'm like pacing, not like in a weird way, but like
welcome to Fireman ADD, buddy. We got it. That's it.
Yeah. And so and if I'm talking to somebody, like I'm fidgeting with my fingers or I'm tapping my foot because like I'm so engaged in what I'm doing. What I'm getting at is though, there's a few of them and I was able to go back and clean up most of them. So if anybody listens to my podcast, maybe go back and try and see if you can find it, but you can hear me walking around my kitchen. Like you can hear the thump, 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 like of me walking around. It's kind of comical. A friend of mine posted or brought it to my attention not that long ago. And he's like, hey, I started listening to your show. Are you in a public place? Because I hear people walking around. I'm like, no, that was me. He's like, you might want to go edit that. It sounds terrible. Like, oh,
it's so funny, right? Because now you and I, if you do this and I do this, could possibly, if we were children, be sort of like classified. So my younger son, Declan, has dyslexia. And he did not get a diagnosis of ADHD or anything like that. But the spectrum of dyslexia is huge, and there's a lot of other disorders that they found that he has. And one that he also has is called executive functioning. And those types of things like you're describing, not being able to sit still, needing to fidget, to help you focus. That is all in this executive functioning disorder. And I'm not kidding you, Mike. When we were in the with the doctor and he took all these tests and she's talking about things and asking us questions about him, I'm like raising my hand for me. And it's what I always called like firefighter ADD, but it's really
Yeah.
executive functioning disorder.
No, it's actually very interesting. So when I was a kid, probably, I mean, I don't know, probably between like, you know, 10, 12 years old, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, I remember them saying something to the effect of ADD or ADHD and all that. That I remember, I always remember my parents being like, yeah, that's not a thing. That's just, you
It's just
know,
hyper. You're just hyper. You just
yeah, like
sugar. You have too much sugar.
you need to calm down, or you need to do this, or you need to do that, or, you know, oh, that's just made up by doctors trying to sell you medication, or they want you to be on like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like the
Yeah,
typical
yeah, that was a big thing then for sure.
doctors, or yeah, it was I'm trying to I don't even remember, I can't even think of the word right now. Um
Well, it was
yeah.
like when they were putting kids on Ritalin because I'm a little, I guess I'm a little
Yeah.
older than you in that age group. But like at that point, they were like, it was like, I'm on Ritalin. This kid's on Ritalin. That kid's on Ritalin. And again, it was science and medicine and things that they
Yeah.
were trying to learn, right? I'm not, they weren't
Yeah.
experimenting on kids, but there were probably a lot of kids that got it that didn't need it at that time.
Yeah, so that, and that's, you actually kind of said it really well, and I was able to get my thought in my mind of, it was more of an excuse than accountability for your actions.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way my parents looked at it. They were like, you know, look, yeah, you may have some tendencies, but like if you would just pay attention and stop, you know,
So with my son, it's
doing
interesting.
what you're doing.
With my son with this too, it's really interesting. So he was in, we knew in pre-K, his teacher was like, look, I don't know what it is, but we knew the whole time there was just something a little different about
Sure.
him being the second child. But you know, he just, his focus wasn't there. He was a little delayed in speech, and he wasn't hitting milestones like our older son did. So we knew we had to move. We moved for a better school district that had really good support services, but they wouldn't test him in the school district for dyslexia until I think the second or third grade. But if
Yeah.
we went and got our own testing, then he would be able to get all the services. And we did that. It's
That's
crazy. Oh, dude, if I
that's
could even tell you the hoops, and listen, I recommend this to anyone who's got kids that they think could be anything, anything at all, just
mhm.
anything. Go privately. You may have to pay out of pocket, but it's
Yeah.
so worth it because that diagnosis got him all, and all the teachers wanted to give him the services. It's just the bureaucracy
Yeah.
of
The
paperwork.
system.
I could pull out his file of paperwork that's probably like this thick, and it's
Yeah.
he is in comparison to some of the children that he's been educated with in the special support services, he is very minor in what he needs, his accommodations, let's say. But during that meeting in kindergarten with her saying like, look, he's yes, he has these ADD type ADHD tendencies, but I don't think he has that. I think it's because he has dyslexia and executive functioning. And once we start to teach him the way he needs to learn, all of that will go away. And dude, I have a fifth grader that's on the high honor roll right now because of that change.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's just like anything else. You have to find what works for them. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't kids out there that need that kind of help, but I feel like, to me, the um the sincerity of it
Yeah.
from the school system, if you firmly believe second or third grade, is it a money thing or is that an age? Because if because if you were to tell me, look, your kid's showing signs, however, the actual signs aren't until they're 9. These are the scientific studies that we go against. Here's why it's 9. Come back when he's 9. That's much different than, well, we just do when they're in third grade. Well, why? Well, that's the school system. I
Yeah,
can almost
it's a
guarantee
very, it's an
you.
interesting world to be in. I can tell you that much.
I
And
can,
you,
yeah, I was gonna say, I can almost guarantee you, just with public schools, that's almost a money thing, I would think. It's the only thing that makes sense.
it's a state thing. You know what I mean?
It,
It's so
but
the
it all
system is
revolves.
so fucked. Like there's
Yeah,
no.
well,
And again,
everything
I'm in a really
revolves.
good role here. I'm in a really good place where everybody's like
Yeah,
we know other parents that are like, how did you do that?
yeah,
And that key is, and they talk about it, and even a lot of the. So we become really good friends with one of both my. He taught both my kids, but he has a he's basically a special ed teacher, let's say, but he ended up having both my boys and really good guy. And it's all about advocacy for your kid. And some folks think, well, they're my kid, I'm their parent, I advocate for them all the time, but you have to go above and beyond that
Be
to get all
uncomfortable.
these things.
You have
Yeah.
to get in an uncomfortable situation, have uncomfortable decisions. And, you know, I mean, I think there's something to be said about, oh, well, we don't do this until your kid. Well, no, you're going to do it.
Yeah, that's what you basically have
I
to
pay
say.
my taxes, or if they're in a private school or you go to a specialized school for their situation, no, I pay you out of pocket. You will be doing this, or we're going to find a new school. Like, maybe not that extreme,
No,
but
that's an extreme for some kids. We
but you
know
need to
another
be that
child.
way.
We
Yeah.
know another family, they had to do that. It just
Yeah.
wasn't working. Everything that they were trying, everything that the school was trying, just wasn't working for their particular child's needs.
Yeah.
And they had to go and find a school. And I can't speak for them. I know they're in the process of working through our school district to get that subsidized, let's say, which again, they're
Yeah.
trying to do. But if they were just like screw this, we're leaving the school, we're going to the other school, nobody's stepping up to help them. You know what I mean? Like you have to advocate for that.
Yeah, and and that's where the teachers, I think, can really put feathers in their hats. I mean, it's just like any other industry. I think teachers don't get enough credit, and I think they don't get the credit they deserve. And there's some really, really good people. And again, with to tie this into leadership and kind of what we're doing today is, again, regardless of what title or what the situation is, it all comes down to humanity,
Yeah.
right? Being a good person, compassionate, all of that. And if you don't have that, no matter where you go in life, especially a customer based service such as public safety or teaching, because I mean, you're there to mold young minds, but at the end of the day, it's a customer service, and your customers are children, um, and young adults. And I think when you're able to make those connections and have that compassion and actually care on a human level, I think that's where you're going to see the teachers make the biggest difference. You're going to see officers and leaders make the biggest difference, and just people in general. And you know, again, it's just like what we do in the fire department. You could have somebody with their worst day, and you could do something that they'll remember forever. You could have a frustrated parent at the end of their ropes that feels like they're out of options. They don't know what to do, and you could show up as a teacher, be a good freaking person, give a shit, and really try and make a difference in their life. And I'm sure you could, and that could change the whole trajectory of the child for their life and the parent, and that affects their relationship in the home and their health and everything. And I'm sure you might be able to relate to this, or maybe somebody else might, but I've had teachers that made a huge difference in my life. I had coaches that made a big difference in my life. I wouldn't be where I am today without people like that in my life that are not my parents. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? The
100%.
outside influences and everything. And again, remove the teaching part, remove the fire service. It's that human interaction and that human connection of just compassion, just genuinely, you know, giving a shit and
Customer
wanting to make
service,
it
right?
better.
It's that humanity of customer service, right? If
Correct.
we as consumers, you and I, have an issue with a product, whatever that product may be, and we have a good interaction with the customer service rep or whoever it is, we become happy, whether they fixed our problem or not. That
Right.
humanity that you talk about, that's the key. And my boss at work said it, oh God, I don't even know now, 12 years ago. Like he sat down and told all four shifts, you're no, and maybe this wasn't the way to say it, but it's the way he chose to say it. You're no longer in the fire service business, you're in the customer service business.
Yeah.
And really what he was saying was, I need you all to be more human in an easy
Yeah.
way. And over time, it didn't listen, my department did not flip overnight as to what we were going to do for that.
Sure.
But once you get into that and you start to adopt it in your life and work in that, that little bit of humanity goes such a long way.
Well, when you invest in the humanity side, then I think you will put off um, that you're genuinely there to do it. When people know you genuinely care, that's the biggest difference, right? Just like if you're an officer and it's kind of obvious how superficial you are, and oh yeah, I care about your bit. Well, no, I can tell you don't. I can tell you're putting on a fake face. When people genuinely know you care, I think that's what makes the biggest difference. And I don't really remember book quotes from books I read a long time ago, but when I took my promotional test at the department I work for, one of them was a customer service book, and one thing that always stuck out to me was, in the customer service industry, especially as they call them a supervisor or as a leader with complaints. They said typically 99% of the time they don't want you to fix their problem. They want you to listen.
Yeah.
Like that's really, I don't want to say that's all it is, but that's the biggest thing is you have to listen. And when you walk into these calls or, you go your interaction and you take it one day at a time, one call at a time, you don't think about if it's medical or not, if it's a fire alarm, all the crap we don't want to run. If you take it one situation at a time and you just genuinely show up with the right intention, that's palpable. People are going to see that. They can tell when you walk in with a crappy attitude. I'm sure you've been in the fire department long enough where you're tired, hungry, whatever. You walk in and you're not mad at those people. You're just mad because you want to eat. You're hungry. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You've been smoked all day long, and you're working the day half tomorrow, or you're going home to three kids, and your wife's running out the door the second you get in, and you're just exhausted. And the first thing they say is, "What's your problem? Why you walk in here with an attitude?" And you're met at the door with that, and that just sets the tone for the rest of the call, and it's a pain in the ass, right? So I think again, if you walk in, it's all body language, and I got to tell you, I think you can make any really shitty situation, discussion, interaction, anything. If you genuinely walk in with a good attitude in your mind, same thing, you listen to the people, whatever it is, I think you're going to set yourself up for success, because the flip side of that is when you don't, you're going to set the tone and it's going to go a dramatically different way. And I feel like that plays into everything.
No, for
Um,
sure. Everything in life. Like if I
everything
go
in
to
life.
my kids' lacrosse tournament and I'm like, these refs are gonna suck, I'm already in a bad mood. You know what I mean? Like,
And they're going to feed off of you.
and that's it. And it's actually funny because so my kids are into lacrosse and we go to a lot of these local tournaments and it's some of the guys are the same refs, so you see them every weekend. And
Oh God, here we go. This
so
guy. Yeah.
it's funny because you kind of have two styles of refing from what I can tell with these folks. You have the kind of older guys that are just out there doing it and they're really nice. I do feel like with these, like I've watched all these different refs tie kids shoes and try to correct the boys out there. But then you have some that are like totally like you're saying, good body language. Like parents will be yelling at them and they have good comments back to them.
Yeah.
Like not like if the parents like F you and they're like F you, they're like, oh wow, well the other guy said he loved that type of a thing. And it's how they carry
Yeah.
themselves. And the
It's
kids
all
even feed off it too, which is amazing to watch
sure.
in my mind. And it's the same as being in any situation or the fire service. If you're the leader of the crew and you have bad you're in a bad mood, everybody's in a bad mood. That
Well, they're
tone
also going to
matters.
well, they're also going to feed off you too. So the way you carry yourself and act and how you react and do certain things, they're going to do it too. So if you cuss somebody out on a call and you're the officer, right? Now, I'm not condoning things, but I do think there's times where you need to meet the situation
Yeah, they're I
with
understand what you're saying.
equal tone. But if you go in there and you start cussing at people, they're going to think it's okay to cuss people. If you start lying to people, they're going to think it's okay to start lying to people. If you walk in and you just look like a slob, they're going to think it's everything is all a matter of the example you set and how they're going to feed off you and what they're going to do. It's the same thing with the referees, right?
Yep.
So I'm a firm believer in you know whether it's your kid. I have a kid, he's 6. So whether it's my kid or the guys I work with, all eyes are on you at all times, 24/7. They may not necessarily always be thinking about it. You may not necessarily be thinking about it, but you better understand
100%.
everything you do and you're an officer, you know this. Everything you do and say, they're going to see and hear all of it, and the good and the bad, and your shortcomings and your triumphs and all that. So hopefully you make your mistakes and they see you move on from them. But I'm getting a little off topic, but
No,
I
this
think
is
you just
totally
kind of
this is
do that.
totally the topic, but you're right there, right? Because even I joke like with the guys at work sometimes where I'm like, okay, boys, or I'm like, okay, kids, like because
Mhm.
I talk to them like they're my boys because I'm like, all right, we've gone too far now. I'm gonna put my dad voice on and we have to bring it back in. The same
Yeah,
as I do with my boys sometimes where like, listen, I love them, we have a good time. I'm still their dad. I'm still their parent. Same thing at
sure,
work. You're still their boss. You could be their friend,
sure,
but there has to be a time where you have to be their boss, right? And I
sure.
feel like that setting the tone really matters. And like you had said, even to start this one, where you have to kind of meet their level. I pulled up to a crane that collapsed into a house with a screaming college student outside. hysterical. I had to match her, I don't want to say hystericalness, but let's say her volume in the way I spoke to her
Yeah.
to get the answer I needed. Because if I was like, oh, hey, are you okay?
Sure.
There was no way I was going to find out, is anyone else in that house right now? And there was
Yeah.
a bystander like running over as I was being louder with her, let's say, and
Yeah.
he was shocked. Like, and I'm like, take her and go way over there and wait. And then after the incident de-escalated, and she was able to give me an answer, and she said no that she knew of. But afterwards, and I mean, like, we're like 2 hours after into this, I went over to her and spoke with her and explained to her why I was yelling, because I felt I owed her that, that I wasn't that guy that was being mean to her or anything. I just needed
Yeah.
to give me this one answer. And she did. I'm like, you did a great job. But that's that level of how you set the tone and kind of how you act overall. And it's customer service. Because if I
Yeah.
didn't go back over and talk to her after, all she would have remembered, if she remembered, was me screaming at her.
So yeah, and to take it a little bit further too, customer service isn't the people. I mean, it's not just the people um, that call 911, right?
It's everything,
As an
everyone.
officer, as a leader, it's everyone. The guys on your crew, your battalion chief, your captain, if your immediate supervisor, your battalion chief, the shift commander, all that stuff. Everybody's a customer um, to your services as an officer and as a leader. And one thing, and you talked about it as well with de-escalation. I think de-escalation is, there's no right way to do it, but if you do it enough and there's going to come a time where you have enough experience in it, you're going to kind of figure out what works and what doesn't work. And I think the best tool you can have when there's a uncomfortable conflict or tension is to how to stop the problem, de-escalate it, and then fix it. So if you have an employee or a crew member that's just absolutely irately pissed off, I don't give a shit what the argument's about. I don't care what you two are getting into or you and I are getting into or what's going on. Walk away, cool down, stop. And there's been, more often than not, it's after, cooler heads prevail. More often than not, the person that I've had to interact with, whether it was directly with me or someone else, have come back and been like, look, this is why I'm mad. I shouldn't talk like that. However, this is what's bothering me. And, we need to address it. All right, cool. Like, let's fix it, whatever. There's been a couple of times where I had to step in and stop something, and they both kind of realized they had their heads in their ass, and they're like, hey, I'm sorry. And it's just like, look, I understand. And it's not, you can't talk like that. You can't act like that's unacceptable. Like, it's just the way it is. Right. And if you see tension start building, you need to be able to have the balls or the guts, excuse me, to walk in and be like, yo, so like, I'm
It's
starting
very
to see
hard.
this.
It's
I'm,
very hard.
it's not easy, but if you do it now, it's
Yeah.
way better than it absolutely exploding weeks down the line. And here's the other thing too. And again, with customer service, it's a two-way street, right? So like, I could think there's a situation going on, or I could think something needs to be addressed immediately. And I walk in with a clear mind, you know, with a clear mind, I think letting a situation develop, if it's not illegal, immoral, or violent in any way, especially when it comes to, the people in the firehouse, because
The
people are crazy.
testosterone levels get a little
There's
high. It
testosterone.
happens. It exists in
They're
life.
type A personalities. There's been a few times where I assessed a situation and I was wrong and I moved too quick. Whereas, you think a situation's going on today, you come in the next shift and they act like nothing happened. And you could just go be like, hey, man, you good last shift? Like, whatever. Yeah, man, that guy we butted heads. We're good. I've had a lot of success with saying, hey, man, so like, what's up with this? Yeah, it was X, Y, and Z. We talked about it. It's over. I've also had it where I went in and I allowed it to develop, made a better decision. And there's some times where you don't have the choice and you have to immediately drop the hammer or act. And if you're wrong, then you're wrong, and you just reassess. Hey, all right, cool. It wasn't that way. That's what I thought it was. No big deal. Because conflict in the firehouse, I think, is going to be more often than what you're going to have on calls. Like, I mean, yeah, you're going to have
Yeah, you're
citizens.
living
People not
together.
get
You're
along. You're
literally trying
you're
trying to
living
explain that to
together.
people. This is your house. Like,
You're
think
type
of
A
your family.
personalities. Yeah. And you
It's
just,
very dysfunctional though. Everyone's exactly
yeah.
alike.
Yeah. I mean, well, everybody's gotta, I'm not gonna say
Everybody's
hate.
got their own problems, right? And everybody has their own, everyone was brought up a different way.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own problems. and you're stuck in this place with them. And in some of the places that some firehouses you could work in, like there's nowhere to hide. Like a common bunk room firehouse, there's nowhere to go and hide really. Like you can kind of escape, but you're there. You're all in each
Yeah.
other's face.
Well, you can't get anywhere. And then it even multiplies even more. Like if you and your partner get into it and you two are on the medic unit,
Yeah, it's not fun.
where are you
It's
going?
not fun in the front of that ambulance. I've been
Nope. And as the officer, you don't necessarily have to continuously get involved in anything, but in my experience, you should definitely do your due diligence. If you see something and there's some reason in your mind you have something telling you to act, it doesn't mean you have to get up and jump and run over. I'm not saying that, but I think, if your intuition is telling you, man, I really need to say something, or maybe I should kind of walk over there and take a listen, or, hey, this is conversation's getting kind of meh, but let me just walk away. They can let them figure it out themselves, and we'll see where it goes, because they don't need you to babysit them, hold their hand, or continuously be in their business about absolutely everything. There's a lot of times where I think you need let the guys be the guys.
yeah.
Let them figure shit out on their own. And when they can't, or it escalates into something that's unacceptable at work, you know, that's just where it goes. And I'm not. Let me
This
take
is
a.
not the sexy part of talking about
This
leadership,
is no.
right?
This is
This
the
is the
un.
really hard part.
This is
Like there's no cool picture to explain
there's
this.
this is the reality of being an officer, where the job, or your accountability is real, and there's no one but you, right? So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying ignore signs when you see it. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, how many times have you gotten in an argument with somebody and then 5 seconds later you're laughing and joking like it never happened? Now imagine, as an officer or someone on the third party on the outside looking in, every single time you guys butted heads or got into a shouting match, they're jumping in. Oh, well, this is violence in the workplace. We have to do paperwork. Well, no, like they're just arguing. They're not. Should they lower the voice? Yeah. Can you walk around the corner and be like, hey, so like, you guys good? And kind of like hint, like cool it kind of thing. Or, hey, you need to take a walk, dude, or whatever. Yeah. I mean, those times are going to come, but I think so many people are so fast to drop paper and not allow the human element to be the human element. Right
Yeah.
now, there are non-negotiable, no ifs, ands, or buts. You get into a fight, it's over. You know what I mean? I have no personal ties to this, as far as if you get into a fist fight at work, you get into a fist fight in your volunteer firehouse, you get into a fist fight on a call with a citizen,
In
whatever it
life,
is.
if you got into a fist fight in life, there are going to be consequences. It's
Correct.
the
And
same as
exactly. Any volunteer fire, I was a volunteer in one place, and I work in one place. In both places, if you get into a fight, it's over.
yeah.
Like,
It's a bad day
that's
for
it.
you, man. I can't do anything
It's
for you.
yes. You
Like
well,
I'm not
and
going to
that's
try to do anything for you.
you
Like
tie
that's
my
an easy
hands
way to put
because
it.
now, yep, you tie my hands because now I am accountable legally. Legally, I am accountable, and you tied my hands at this point where I have to do my job, and that's just the way it is. It's not fun. It's not easy, but that's why and where you are the officer, and
It's
why
the
and
same as in
where
life. Like I use it
you
in
have
life
to
to
do your
compare it
job.
to like in a road rage type incident, let's say,
Mhm.
like don't get out of the car. The second you get out of the car, you're done. Your life is over, pal. Whether you're right, wrong, indifferent, anything like that. And it's
Take a shoulder
interesting.
and drive away.
You have a 6 year old, mine are 13 and soon to be 11.
Mhm.
But I remember when my older one was like 4, and I'm a good New Jersey driver. Like I like to drive the way I like to drive here in New
Oh
Jersey.
boy.
It's a defensive driving. That's what they taught me in driver's ed. They taught me to always drive defensively.
Sure. Yeah. No,
And
I understand.
and there were one of these incidents where someone was not driving in the way I thought they should. And as I was like about to just go like off, like ready, window
Ballistic.
down, yeah, everything,
Oh man.
I saw his little face in the rear view, like, and I'm like, put the window back up. You know what I mean? Like, time to drive away because here's Finn sitting behind me and learning everything that I'm
Looking
doing
straight
and
in your
saying.
face. Yep. Looking you right in your
Exactly.
eyeballs to the rearview mirror.
And there was no getting out of that one, man. There was no getting out of that type thing.
I,
And
I've definitely been there. I've caught myself getting ready to react or say something I was going to regret with my kid there. I found myself wanting to say something in front of my crew at work about a situation where I know they would understand and get my reaction and why I felt a certain way. Not towards any of them, just in general. But I just kept my comment to myself because to me, I don't feel like it does any good. I had a situation recently where I was frustrated by communications with um, with a colleague, I'll call it that. And I allowed my frustration to bump a little bit. And one of the guys looked at me and goes, "Do you really think that was a great idea to do that?" And in that moment, I was like, "Yeah." I mean, you
Of
know,
course.
yeah, like, and I don't
But
just do shit.
kudos to the other guy though, because right, this is kind of so this
Well, it
is
takes a lot of balls to say that.
for sure, but that's being a human too, right? Because he's realizing, yo, you're Mike's out of his element right now. Like
Yeah,
you're not in, this is not where you want to be, man. And I'm just
no,
gonna
yeah,
slide it in there, right? Like, hey,
you,
you sure you
yep,
want to do that, bud?
yeah, exactly. And in the moment, I was like, yeah, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of X, Y, and Z from this person, and it just kind of gave me a look, and I'm like, probably an hour or two later, I thought about it. I'm like, I shouldn't have done that.
Those are the
Not a
worst.
big deal in the long run. Not a big deal. Just move on. It's over with. It's behind you. It's a 30-second blip of your life, and it is what it is. Just keep it in mind and move on. And
Well,
but
that's
anyways, that ties
teaching
into what you're
moments too.
saying.
Yeah, and these
Yeah.
teaching moments afterwards of even admitting it now, and maybe I don't know what you said to the other guy. I'd probably be like, "Yo, thanks for calling me out on that," because now what I'm starting to learn with a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old is sometimes after I may get a little too far into dad mode, then I have to de-escalate our situation and
Uh,
explain to them that like dad was wrong. I shouldn't have
yeah.
done that, man. Like, and this is
Yeah.
why I did it. This is what happened. And and it's happened a couple times now, or more with the 13-year-old because that's a different relationship.
Yeah. I can only imagine what a teenager's like.
Good luck,
So,
man. Go with
ugh,
God with you. It's great. It's
it's
awesome.
it's fun. It's so fun here. This is fun. No, yeah. So my kid, he I don't want to say became self-aware, but I think a lot of what you're getting at, he
Yeah,
kind
they
of
become
started
self-aware.
really, yeah, understanding a lot more, a lot faster than you realize. And I'd say probably within the last year, there's been a couple times where I allowed my temper to get a little towards the edge, and my wife kind of reels me back in. She's like, hey, so like, you need to go explain to him why you got mad and what happened and why I got you mad and all that. I'm like, I'm not even explain myself to him. She's like, dumbass. He's not going to understand why you're mad at him if you don't tell him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whatever. Like, but then, I think about it and she's like, I'm sure you do that at work. If you're mad at somebody, you tell them what made you mad, why they're mad, why you're mad. And then you all talk it out because you're not always right about everything. And I'm like, oh, okay, thanks.
Damn,
So,
this is why I
but
married
she's
you.
right. She's
100%.
right. So then I'll go talk to my kid and I'm like, hey, look, dude, this is what made me angry, but blah, 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 blah. And he'd be like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, all right, well, why are you sorry? I don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? I just told you. So over a period, well, this is the point that I'm making. Over a period of time, he'll start throwing shit out there. He'll be like, yeah, I know it makes you mad. And I know I had to go in timeout facing the corner because you don't like it when I back talk or if I ask more than a couple of times and I'm like, no, actually, dude, I put you in timeout because like I told you to stop smacking mommy's butt and you keep doing it. And I told you twice. Oh, well, yeah, I that's what I did. I'm like,
It's
well,
hard when they're that
you
age.
remember everything.
If you
Great.
could not have that conversation, right?
Well,
Then he could keep going on doing that.
yeah.
Hopefully, he's gonna think, "Oh, I shouldn't do that." He's probably not because he's 6, and we know that well. And
He's
you're
gonna do
the
it in five
cycle.
seconons after he gets out of
That's
time.
it. The
Yeah.
circle is round, but at least
Yeah.
you've gotten that level, and I do see it with both my boys now. Them, I want to say appreciating those moments, but learning from those moments eventually and thinking back to them and being like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, you know?
Yeah. And I think I mean I don't know how to say this. So in my experience as an officer, we don't talk to each other like, man, I'm so glad I work with you. Man, you're so good at what you like. That's just not how
Does
we
not
talk.
happen. It's not guy talk, right? It's not
But
macho guy talk.
Right. But I think you either have it or you don't. You have the control or you don't. And I'm not saying control as in micromanagement. I'm saying control as in anyone that's ever been an officer. I've lost control of a crew. I have failed miserably and I got absolutely walked on. And I didn't realize it in the moment. It took me a while to realize it. Once I realized it, I was like, holy shit. I don't ever want to feel like this again. I don't ever want to be looked at like this again. And it was all because of my actions. Now, I'm not saying it's okay to throw a mutiny on your officer. Not saying that at all. However, when they make a statement without saying something and that click happens, you're like, oh, I get it. I'm the problem. It's a shitty feeling. However, that's rock bottom in my opinion, right? Or not rock bottom, but that's about as low as you can get. Well, if you're all the way down low, the only place you should be able to go is up. And unless you want to stay down there and be a bottom feeder and just suck at your job, and then that's up to you.
And there's definitely some people that want to do that.
You know what?
Good for them.
To
Hey,
each his
better you
own.
than
Good
me.
for,
Yep.
to each his own. And I think, but anyway, yeah. So what I'm getting at is once I realized how to start stopping and thinking before I act and do and say things with my kid, that translated into work.
Yeah.
And I feel like once I became a parent and a father, I feel like things started working. I started carrying some of those skills into work. And I feel like it changed me for the better at work, I think. And I feel like, you know, in my experiences, you go through some rough times, you go through some growing pains, but when you truly have control, you demand or you command respect from your actions, not demand respect because of your rank. I feel like every day you have to pay into that by doing the right thing as an officer. All eyes are on you. But I feel, like I said, I really truly feel like once I really started understanding how my actions, words, body language, all have consequences long term at home. Once I learned that, and I started bringing that idea into work and being self-aware and understanding myself and my space, I think it helped at work too. None of the guys will ever tell you that. I don't think. I mean, I'm not gonna sit
You're
here.
to bring them into the office and make them say
Yeah,
it.
I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and pretend. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and tell you I know,
No,
everyone's opinion because I don't. But again, like I said, I feel like you either got it or you don't, and I feel like I went to a different level in the right direction after I hit rock bottom and after I kind of realized I was the problem and after I realized, you know, what I say and do has consequences and I really need to be aware of what I'm saying and what I'm doing.
well, that self-realization is what life's all about, right? As you grow,
Sure.
and it's a constant in my life, where I feel like I'm
Yeah.
always reevaluating every situation. Yes, no, maybe, keep moving on. And becoming a parent, a father, like you said, that was
Mhm.
a huge driving force to the person I am today, 13 years later. Life with
Yeah.
Finn and Dex has been it's an adventure every day.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing too is, and this isn't a lack of self-confidence. Now, maybe you could speak on this, or maybe you could or maybe you feel the same way. I don't, I have confidence to make decisions and confidence when I carry myself, on calls and after calls and all that stuff. But I always feel like I'm never good enough. And I'm not saying like I can't do my job. I just always feel like everything I do, anything I interact with, people I interact with, and there's a not a conflict, but like it's time to be the officer. It's time to, do your job and you're executing your job. And I always feel like I walk away with situations of, that worked and I understand why I made that decision, but I feel like I need to do better. Or I feel like I'm always chasing trying to be at a different level. And I don't feel inferior or inferior to people. And I don't feel insecure, but I mean, goddamn, I'm so hard on myself, and I feel like I'm my own worst enemy sometimes. I've had a few times where, and again, maybe you could speak to this, where like we go through a call, we do, everything kind of works out. And in my mind, I'm like tooling. I'm like, man, fuck, I screwed up.
Yeah,
Or, hey,
it's that
I
constant
wasn't happy.
improvement.
Yeah, I wasn't happy with myself and how it went. And then, hey man, thank God you guys were on this call. And hey, thankfully you guys did this. And, hey, I'm glad we did that. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, were you on the same call I'm on? Because I feel like I'm a piece of shit. And then we talk through it, we work through it. I'm like, hey, we do the table critique, we do, whatever. I'm able to get my thoughts out. And then I realized, oh shit, I actually did do a good job. Oh shit, I didn't see what they saw. They see, whatever. See the situation working out. Whereas me, my judgment's clouded because I always, I'm so hard on myself.
Well, I
And
think that's what happens with a lot of high performers or just
yeah,
performers in general, right? Whether you
yeah,
and using
yeah,
words like this, like I'm not going to call myself a high performer. You know what I mean? Like you just said there, right?
yeah,
And you're always. I think the chase is the fun part, right? And it's like you said, I'll
yeah.
look at a call and be like, what just happened here? Or I'll look at something I did with Finn or whatever it is and be like, then I'll start to reanalyze it, or someone will talk and I will talk about it. And I'll be like, oh, there was a lot of positive in that. I have
Yeah.
to focus on that positive and then improve in the areas I think I can improve in, as opposed to being like, it's all negative. There was nothing good. And how can I'm never going to make this better. Right. And it's just that circle again that you go
Yeah.
into.
Yeah. And, and maybe you can elaborate on this because this is something I've been kind of racking my brain around and I can't quite figure out how to get it out of my head. Um, you're your own worst enemy, or you feel like you're your own worst enemy, or you're your hardest critic, not your worst enemy. Your own hardest critic. And, I feel like I can never satisfy myself because there's always something. I should have done this. I should have did that. Hey, I made this decision. Here's why. The reasoning's solid, but then there's a little bit of doubt creeps in your mind of, maybe I should have done that. It would have still worked out. My idea worked, but maybe that was a little bit better. Either way, at the end of the day, you're not really wrong, but, you know, maybe try it next time or something. So, but anyway, what I'm getting at here is, when you surround yourself by people that are at that level, right? Hopefully, as an officer, as a leader, you have guys around you that are a higher level than you. Just kind of like if you want to learn to run better and you run with marathon runners, fast runners, you may not be as fast as them, but your time's going to go up. Your time's going to get faster. So when you surround yourself with people that are sharp, everyone is on a high level, everyone performs at a high level, and you feel like, and I feel like sometimes I'm always trying to play catch up of, well, I don't want to be the weak link. I need to work my ass off. And you're in that environment so much. Then you leave the environment, you go wherever, and there's people that are not at that level. They don't have that much or they don't have that much drive. They don't have that much experience, or they don't care. They're not, totally into the job and all that stuff. And then you go around them and you start running calls, whether, whatever, you go to a different part of your area and you will work with another shift and they're not at the level that you're used that of your guys that keeps themselves at a high level. And then you feel leaps and bounds ahead of them, and then you're kind of like, wow, like maybe I am good at where I'm at. You know what I mean?
I
Like
always like
maybe
it
I
when my
am.
guys notice that, like, or my
Do you
kids.
understand what,
So,
do you
so
understand what I'm
again,
trying
too,
to say?
100%, right? Where you're like, oh, maybe I am good. Like, or you watch, I can use it at work. I can use a parenting analogy. You watch someone else parent their kids in public, and you're like, oh. And now some days my kids are like, what just happened there,
What
Dad?
the hell is that?
And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah. Don't be careful, kid, because you used to do that crap too when you were younger. Yeah,
no, not
yeah,
even that on my kids, not even the kid crap. Watching the parent interact with the kid, like
yeah,
we'll be out at a restaurant or something. We'll be
yeah.
out at restaurants, and now my kids are definitely like when people say that. Well, it just happened not too long ago. We had this like young male waiter. We went to some chain restaurant, just me and the boys, and the boys ordered for themselves. Right? They can both read, they can both talk. Like, what do you want? Tell the man. Tell him how you want it. Like I trained them, for lack of a better term, right? And this kid is like, "Sir." I'm like, "Oh God, he's calling me sir. This is gonna be a good one." Like, I'm not sir, but yes, go ahead, buddy. And he's like, "I just gotta say, sometimes I'm here and they're like boys my age and their parents have to order for them." He's like, your kids are so good at doing that type thing. Like,
Yeah.
my kids notice that, right? Like, and you notice these things. And I'm not doing it to pat myself on the back or to pat my kids on the back, but it's just one of those things that you can always make yourself better. And maybe the way we are with being our own worst critics, that there's nothing wrong with that unless you let it take you down a notch, right?
Yeah,
Unless you
and
let it eat you up so much inside that you can't function. And that does
yeah.
happen.
I've had it where I got so in my head I couldn't make a good decision to save my life over something so stupid and easy, something I know how to do. I've done a dozen times or dozens of times. And, you know, I got in my own head and I let myself trip over my own thoughts. And ultimately at the end of the day, I made myself look like an idiot. I made my crew look like an idiot. And it was probably one of the most embarrassing things I've ever had to deal with my entire life or my entire career. Um, you know, but I think you need some of those situations to keep yourself honest. I think a little bit of humility and getting humbled. And by humbled, I mean not by choice.
Yeah.
I think, oh, God, who was it? Mike Tyson, I think. He said everybody's got a great plan until they get punched in the face or punched
Exactly.
in the jaw or
That was
whatever.
him. Yep.
So, yeah. So I think, at least in my experience, I think kind of getting popped in the jaw every once in a while is good for you and you need it. And popping the jaw can be screwing up on a call. One of the people under your command.
If you don't get hit, in this theory, if you don't get hit in the face at least once a day, you're probably not really doing much during the day. Right? Like, is
Yeah,
that an easy way
yeah,
to put it? Like, and you have
yeah,
to
but
focus on that situation.
yeah, and I think, yeah, exactly. So I think no, just I lost my train of thought. Oh, so I think getting kind of popped once in a while, whether you like it or not, is a good thing for you. However, I think if somebody calls your ass out and you screw up, or they're like, hey, dude, collectively, we need you to fix this. If they're coming to you to kind of call you out, I mean, I don't want to say they need to stay in their lane, because I think there's times where you just need to be kind of just called out.
Yeah. Well, that's more
But
than
if
getting
they,
punched in the face. That's you got knocked down. You know what I mean? You're getting
yeah,
called out on it. It should
yeah.
be just like if you call someone else out on something.
Oh,
Not
sure.
the first time you've seen this occur. It shouldn't be, unless it's really something
No.
stupid or like you said, unsafe. But like the same with my boys, or even with my relationship with my wife. Like there's some times where I'm like, babe, enough. Like this is enough.
Cool it,
Yeah.
lady. Yeah.
Like, and
Good
I don't
luck
gotta
with
be a
that.
dick about it. Like we have our own way of speaking, but it's the same thing that
We have our own way of speaking too. No holds bar.
yeah, I was gonna say
Go ahead.
it's called cursing and
Yeah,
yelling.
well, I mean, if anybody to not hold back and not have a filter with, it should be the person you're spending your life with. But
But that is a big part of it, right?
my
Is that
opinion.
you're getting knocked down and you're having someone call you out or you're calling someone else out. It all goes back to this, and I just keep circling. I think it's going to be the name of this. Is just be a human. It's that humanity factor, and
Got to
all
be a
too
human.
often we forget that. And we started. It's crazy because we're almost to the hour here, talking almost about the same topic. And we started in that customer service and with teachers. And look, I can imagine being around 20 children for the whatever time they spend in school with them, 6 7 hours a day.
I'm out on that.
Yeah, 100% out on
Out
that.
on
Like
that.
there's not even there's no way, right? And you
No
think
chance.
about these folks and what they deal with and what they see and how many situations a day they try to fix that they can't, but they still have to be a human in all this. And it's like you said, they don't get enough credit for their job. And it's
Yeah.
one of these things that I don't know if they're there for the credit. They're
They're
there to
not.
help those kids that they can help, just like we're there to help the situations we can help and
Sure.
fix the ones we can fix to the best of our ability. It may not be the coolest way to fix them, it may
Yeah.
not be the flashiest, but we
You
still
can finesse it. You can finesse it. And the biggest thing is at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? So you have to be a human being, but you also have to let everyone else be human beings. Let them be humans, right? You're not there to solve the world's problems on your shift when you're the officer or the leader, or even if you're an informal leader, because you don't have to have rank to be a leader in a leadership position. Um, but you have to let them be human beings. You're not there to solve their problems, micromanage. You're not there to have a comment for everything. You're not there to jump in and do everything on calls. Just give them your expectations, your intent of how, give them your intent of what you want done, and just let them do whatever they need. And you just guide them along their path. You know what I mean? And have your non-negotiables, your minimum standards of whatever you see fit for whatever you're doing. And then give them the full reins, because you're going to want to be able to have a group of individuals that you're going to have to yank the reins back rather than stand behind them and drag them by the same reins to do their job. You know what I mean?
it's one of those that like you don't always have to have an answer. Sometimes you just
No.
have to say, okay, like let someone tell
Yep.
you everything that they need to tell you, and your answer back is okay. They
Yeah,
just
you're
want to
a
be hurt.
you're
You
a
know,
35-year-old adult. I'm a 35-year-old adult. You're not my mother. I don't need you to mother hen me. I don't need you to fix me. I don't need you to do any of this shit.
We just
I need
became best
you.
friends, by the way, because I'm
What's
really a
that?
45-year-old adult. So thank you so much for
Oh,
giving
there
me
you
10
go.
years back in my life, bro. You're
I'm
awesome.
not 35, but I thought it was a nice common ground where we both could
I feel really great about that right now. I feel
feel
so great
feel
about
young
myself.
again. Um, but that's the point here. Nice Step Brothers quote. But that's the point that I'm making is I don't need you to fix me. I don't need you to do any of this shit. I need you to support me, get out of my way, let me do my job. Because if you're not going to let me do my job and let me function and let me have the ability to make decisions, why am I here? Especially if you suck at it, right? Like if you have an officer that doesn't know what the hell they're doing, you know damn well they don't know how to do your job. Or when you watch, every time you watch them do their job, they suck at it, or they get in the way, or they're doing too much, or they're just it's just too much. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
It's too much of nothing. It's not solving the problem.
You're
You're
yeah,
making
you're
the,
taking
don't
up
be the problem. Don't make
you're
the
taking
problem
up
worse.
space. You're taking up space, and you're not part of the solution. You're part of the problem because so I play in a pipe band, right? And one of the biggest things the drumming instructor says, rests in a drum score are one of the biggest things to emphasize the drums when they're playing, because if you're always there, no one can ever miss you, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, if you continuously hear noise, it's going to be noise. Whereas if you step in when necessary at the right time, just as in drumming, you're going to have the right effect to accent, keep the rhythm, and be the icing on the cake for the final product, which is the end of the song or the efficiency of a crew. So
I
I
like
don't know
that.
how.
That's a good little analogy. And it's interesting because I had something planned to start this podcast and I didn't even get to use it because we just went over this
Nail
way.
it.
But
Nail it down.
you did just bring that up because I saw you posted something recently about, don't text your guys when you're not at work about work things.
Hold
Uh,
on. Or
you,
not hold on, but yeah, yeah.
like you're pulling up the quote or like
I'm pulling it up right
you
now.
just posted it and I just saw
It
it.
was why can't I? That's kind of pitiful that I can't find it on my
It's on your LinkedIn.
find it on my own Instagram.
I feel like I saw it on your LinkedIn right away though.
It is. So
But it was one of those things, right? Where look,
it,
in our
leave them
society
alone.
right now, yeah, in our society right now, technology is we can do anything we want whenever we want to. And you don't basically what you had said was like you don't need on your day off to be having a tactical discussion about a hypothetical situation with the guys on your crew, right?
No. Yeah. So
And I agree 100% with that. So where I want to go with that though is you know, tip of the spear leadership, you play in a pipe band, but what are you doing on your days off that maybe don't have to do with the fire service or tip of the spear leadership? Because that's really the size up is kind of about what you're doing on your days off and being a human kind of. We went into the human aspect for a little longer than I planned, but it's a great topic. But
sure.
what else do you got going on that's not that stuff that's all
None
behind
of that stuff.
right now?
So a little I'm not exactly satisfied with where I am in my uh physical fitness.
Okay, I can
Um,
understand that. Nor am I
you know,
ever
I
with
feel I
myself.
feel like not that long ago, I feel like I kind of realized I need to make a change and kind of do something. So that's something that I started. Working out as consistent as I can, watching and actually writing down what I eat, and actually kind of giving shit about it. And not focusing on like these astronomical goals that I can't do, or worried about, oh, I can't do 100 push-ups continuously. Well, no, I can't do that, but I still can do 30 or 40 at a time. Well, focus on what you can do, not what you can't. And that's what I've been doing. And, just focusing on incrementally being better at whatever it is, whether it's my mile time coming down, my weight's going up, whatever it is. My overall goal is to be more efficient and healthy and feel better at work. And I'm starting to see that. There's days that I feel the return on actually trying to put physical fitness as a priority. There's other days where I'm like, what the hell? Why am I struggling? Like, what in the
I,
actual F is going on right now? Why am I struggling walking?
I call that every day.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just I haven't even walked 300 feet, and I'm like, my legs are on fire. What the fuck? But but no, that's so I've been focusing a lot on that, and it's not perfect, and it's my goal is
Never
just
gonna be
consistency.
perfect. Like, I think that's a
Sure.
big point of it, right? It's never gonna be. Even
Yeah.
I have a little
Yeah.
fitness challenge going on right now privately for myself that I haven't really talked about, and I'm not gonna. But there was a bigger challenge that led me to start this fitness challenge. And should I be able to do the bigger fitness challenge? Yes. However, I'm doing the smaller fitness challenge and I'm liking it. And
Right.
I'm like, why am I going to put more on my plate right now when I'm liking doing this and I'm getting it done and I can high five myself and pat myself on the back. And when I get to a stage where I'm like, all right, time for the bigger one, that's what I'm going to do. And I think that's a big part of on the fitness end of it for sure. But even in life, you have to find those little wins and just keep growing on them. And there's going to be days where it sucks. And even today, when I've got a little bit of it in right before you appeared on the screen, and I'm like, "Ooh, this doesn't feel good. Let me slow it down a little bit, and I'll get
Yeah.
it in over a longer amount of time today."
Sure. Yeah. No. Exactly. And so I guess the point that I was making of it was like you don't. I mean, at least for me, being better. If I can look at myself today and my results are showing an upward projection, like upward projection, excuse me, then I think that's all that matters. As long as you're continuously heading on the right path, I think that's all that. I mean, my goal is to be a asset, not a liability. I don't have to be the fastest runner. I don't have to be able to run 20 stories with two high rise racks. I don't have to. My goal, my part is the company officer, right? So if they turn around for me to need something, regardless, I'm there. I'm able to do it. I'm not so winded I can't talk on the radio, all that crap. But I don't need to be the guy running 3 and 4 flights ahead of them because I'm in better shape than them. No, I'm there to be part of the team, not some
The long-term
astronomical
goal of fitness,
expectation.
right? When we were younger, and I see this with younger kids still today, and that's okay because they're younger. But when it comes to fitness, this is overall a lifestyle and life longevity, and that's why I'm in it. Is it cool if I can lift some more weights than I did yesterday? Sure, it is. Does it
Yeah.
matter? No, because I can still lift the weights.
Yeah, you're only in competition with yourself, and that translates into so many more things in life than just lifting weights, the fire department, or being a parent. And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that's what you need to understand, especially in leadership and fitness and in parenting. It's not a it's not a competition. I don't really give a shit how much you can bench press because that's not me. I, by the way, have brought my bench press up X amount of numbers. So you know what? That's to me, that's a victory for a person.
Yeah.
Not me specifically, but for example, is what I mean. Yeah. So as long as you're getting better, there's measurable progress, and you're wherever you want to be in your psyche. And in leadership as well. You shouldn't be looking at your colleagues comparing yourself to them. It doesn't matter. They're in their own leadership journey. Leadership's not a destination. Life's not a destination.
I feel
Life's a
like you
journey.
gave me another book idea of like the 8 million books I'm gonna someday write, and maybe in my retirement. But like, if I could probably write a book on somehow like fire service leadership, fitness, and parenting, because that pretty much is basically what my life is at this point in it, I guess, is a good those three things. And maybe I could put like and trying to stay married, like
Leadership by example without being murdered by your wife. Got it. But yeah, so
with,
I'm just kidding.
with a little
But
sprinkle of fitness in there. But right,
yeah, well
those
the
things those
the
things are really
fitness,
important to me as
well
well, and
yeah.
they all tie in together in a
And you
way.
have to be physically fit to get away from her when she's trying to murder you. Because if you're out of shape and fat and you can't run from her, you're dead. I
Especially
mean,
if she's more physically fit than you are. And there are days when
correct.
my wife
Yeah,
has been more physically fit than me, and that's my biggest thing that I
I
want to get better than
100
her again.
I 100% know the feeling. So I do that. The physical fitness stuff of just trying to be better. And again, I'm only in competition with myself, and my ego doesn't let me believe that. But I keep lying to my brain, and maybe if I keep lying to myself, then I'll believe it. No, I'm kidding, but no, yeah, getting out of my own way is one of my biggest things. The other part is I do the podcast, but we said not to talk about or not to do that, but um, is the pipe band.
Yeah.
I'm not as active as I want to be because of kind of life getting in the way, kids doing sports and stuff like that. But I do get out there regularly, and I think everybody there, I mean, quite frankly, they understand what it's like to have a life, and I've had zero issues with not being as active as I was. Nothing but support. There's accountability there, and hey man, we need you to do X, Y, and Z, and I do it, and I'm going to make sure I do as they ask, and because I think accountability from them is a good thing as well. I think a little bit of accountability is a good thing. So you know, trying to stay engaged with that and
It's funny.
trying
I actually thought about, well, a couple of times I've thought about doing the pipe band thing.
do it,
And well,
do it, God, do it. It's so freaking cool. It's so much fun.
my older son was into percussion.
Mhm.
And I'm like, dude, let's go. One of the local career departments near me has one that's open to anyone that's a emergency services. You don't have to be in their department.
Who is that?
Um, Here in Jersey, Hamilton, New Jersey has a band.
Okay.
And so I'm like, bro, we should go. Like you and I'll do it if you do it.
Yeah, do it together. That's
You know what I
awesome.
mean? I was like, it'd be really cool. And he was like, well, I really don't like when I do the marching band. And I'm like, but buddy, like, it's cool. It's something we do together. And
Dad, you're not cool.
it was sort of dad, you're not cool, but it was also
I'm just
sort of,
kidding. I'm just kidding.
he was in the stage of, he was wanting to be the front man. So he switched from percussion to vocals is what both my boys do now with School of
Oh,
Rock. And
yeah.
even though he gets down and he can rock out on the drums, I mean, if we went right now to like, let's say, okay, we're going to do this on night one, they would be like, okay, kid, here's your kilt. And they would look at me and be like,
Okay,
here's,
kid, here's your kilt.
no,
Okay.
yeah, I see what you did there. No, they'd be like, here's that little pad thing.
Yeah.
And you're just going to bang on this for a really long time because you suck and your kid doesn't. But
Is it, well, let me tell you. So, I mean, are we strapped on time? Because
I mean, again, I like to keep it around an hour, but we're good. Nobody.
so when I got into the pipe band, I joined after my father-in-law passed away, and he always tried to get me to join. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Wear a skirt, and I didn't quite
Our
appreciate.
last names don't really fit in with the people that wear skirts. So
No, no, and I guess I never quite appreciated what he was trying to do. I think he wanted me to join to do something together, and I guess it never really clicked to me. And so he passed away, and I was like, man, shit. So I did it, and it was kind of fun because now it's kind of like he's still around,
yeah.
keep the connection, and they took me in with open arms, the band did, and I think there was a lot of frustrated drumming instructors.
I can
The drumming
understand.
instructor we have is he's a two-time world champion, I believe, snare drummer, and sharp guy. His name's John Quigg. I mean, he's phenomenal. And there's a lot of days where I think he was pulling out his hair and ripping out his hair. And then one the other bass, I play the bass, the big bass drum. It's the heartbeat of the band. Um, his name's John Day, and I think I made him go bald personally from him just being like, "What
Just
in
trying
the
to keep the beat, man. So I gotta do
what are
some
you doing?
beats,
Yeah,
bro.
what are
Come
you
on.
doing?" Like he's like 4, 8, and 16. You can't count to that. I'm like, no. He's like, you can't keep a tempo, but I say that in jest. But it was open arms. It was very straightforward. And what I really liked about it is when you go into the circle, and that's when everybody circles up and everybody plays. And there's a lot of things I think you can take away from this in life and leadership and some other stuff. Everybody gets a chance to play. And if and you're not doing that great, you're going to be called out respectfully. You're going to be addressed, but ultimately you don't get kicked out. They're going to probably tell you to stop playing because you're screwing the tune up, which has happened to me. But that's fixing the issue in the moment. And then they come right back and fix, and then they come right back and they teach you. But either way, the point that I'm making is everyone's accepted in the circle. Everyone gets a chance. Look, we know you don't know a whole lot, so you're not going to go do these paying jobs. But when we go to bars and we do stuff at practice, this is where you cut your teeth, you make your mistakes, and we'll work with you. I couldn't tell you how many times, and it still happens because I haven't made as many practices as I should. I don't know why I'm admitting this on a podcast, but
Everyone
either
knows.
way,
'Cause you're not
life's
perfect.
getting
Mike
it.
Nasty's not perfect. The guy who
No,
the tip of the
God,
spear
anybody that
leadership is
really
not a
knows
perfect
me,
leader.
no, oh God, if anybody that really knows me is probably just laughing at me right now. But anyway, there's been plenty of times where they'll just stop and be like, "Yo, dude, like you're way off," or But either way, they don't shit on you, they don't talk down to you. It's always address, build up, move on. Address, build up, move on. And if they stop, they stop. But either way, ultimately, I'm not saying
Learn.
everyone.
You're
I
there to
hate,
learn. And I think
yeah,
that's the cool part of a band. And seeing this with my kids between sports and the arts, because they're both into music and my older son is really into drama. Um, that different community of like support. Not that the sports teams kids aren't supportive, but they're so ultra competitive even with each other that they can't be
Yeah.
competitive enough with the other team. Whereas in music, in that community, the team is really the main focus because if one person's off, it really screws up everything.
It's
No one wants to be off.
no one wants to be off. And the whole point of it, or not the whole point, well, no, it is kind of a point. And here's another kind of interesting metaphor that I think fits is with teamwork, life, parenting, families, the pipe band, all of that. It's just like a puzzle, right? Not everyone can be a corner piece, but a puzzle can't be complete without every piece. Every piece is important, and without every piece, you don't have the full picture and the end goal of a completed puzzle or whatever the goal is. So when it comes to the band stuff, everybody's there just to build each other up. Everybody is there to have a good time, and everyone's there as an outlet from life and work. Because the band that I play for is the Pipes and Drums of Greater Baltimore. Fire Brigade Pipes and Drums of Greater Baltimore is the full name. And they're pretty much outside. They're based out of Howard County, Maryland ish, but we're the service band for the region. Like Montgomery County Pipes and Drums kind of takes the west side, the west chunk of the state. We hit just about everything in the Baltimore region, so Greater Baltimore. And everybody is career, or there's a couple volunteers in there, but either way, everybody's in the fire department. Everybody's a little bit old. There's not a lot of young people. I think I'm one of the younger ones. I don't, if as far as I might be mistaken, but I don't think we have anybody in their 20s. Everybody's in their 30s, 30s, 40s.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Everybody's,
definitely more of an older, established in life.
yeah. But the point that I'm making is everybody has life experience. Everybody wants to be there. Everybody just wants to enjoy themselves. We don't really talk about work or fires, any of that crap. Everybody's there. We all kind of have the mutual connection of work. So we all kind of get each other. We all kind of get each other's attitudes and quirks and comments and
But
all those fun
you're
things.
there to make music, right?
And you're there to make music, and you're on the common ground of, again, a service band. So you're there to provide a service for the region as well. And the band jobs on St. Patrick's Day are a lot of fun, but ultimately the whole point of it is, as a service band, is memorials, funerals, and award ceremonies, like service. It's a good thing. And
It's amazing that when you make music or art like that, you're in the customer
yeah,
service
and
business,
every
but you don't
and
even
everyone
realize it because it's what you're making that is making
correct.
everyone
And
else.
again, it's customer service, it's humanity, like we talked about before. There's a little bit of leadership sprinkled in there, and everyone wants to be there. Everybody's there to enjoy each other's company, not tear each other down. And they're such a great group of individuals. They're a great group of musicians. Collectively, they're a great band, but each individual person, they're freaking great. They're so nice. They're so
That's a whole.
accepting.
This is a whole nother episode that we could talk about because it's getting out of that comfort zone and meeting other
Yeah.
people and that mutual respect.
Yeah. Let me
Oh,
know. I'm down to talk about that too.
that's another
I
fun.
also have another person. If you wanted to get into the pipe band and its effects in the fire service, I have someone that
Let's
we
go,
can
man.
talk
I think
off
that'd be a good one because
we
again,
can
it's
talk off air, but I think
yeah.
she would be really, really,
I
really good for you to talk to. I really
I
do.
like it, man. I like how I could grab a guest at the end of this one too, so it works out even better. Then that's what it's all about, man.
You'll
It's trying,
thank me later.
it's
No, I'm kidding.
connecting all the dots. Yeah, yeah. I'll make
Tie it
sure. I'll
together.
send you a guest. Let me find someone else. Jeremy Donch, I know him. You could have him on your show.
Oh, well, ironically, you may have seen that name come across my feed if you follow me
I may have. It was like, wait,
recently,
I'm interviewing this dude next week. What are you doing? We need to
as in two
coordinate
days
as
ago.
the National Fire Radio juggernaut grows. We need to get coordinated a little bit better.
Yeah, there you go. That's funny.
Awesome, man. Well, listen,
Small world.
I finish up these shows with the size of 10. It's 10 questions. They're supposed to be quick fired, but they never really are. But you never know. And it's just fun. Ready for them?
Yep, here we go.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Night out or night in?
Night in.
Oh, I was going to say with a 6-year-old, I'd be like, night out. I'm out. Get me out of here.
Oh no, he's not going to be here. I just want the night in. Like,
Well,
if somehow I could figure out a way to get rid of both of them and I just have the night here by myself,
those are nice nights.
mint.
I didn't say
Yeah.
that out loud. Those are nice nights. A good book or a good movie?
Movie.
A cross-country road trip. Who is your celebrity co-pilot?
Frank Sinatra.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Dude, he's oh my god. Yeah. He's got to have had such a he has to be pretty good. Has to.
No doubt. No doubt. I like it. Do you make your bed every day?
Hell no. No. Probably
What's your,
should.
what's a book someone needs to read?
It's your ship.
It's Your Ship. Oh, I know that book.
It's your ship. Yeah.
Yep. Oh man, see, we got into this and I forgot to mark the time. Sebby's gonna be all pissed at me now. We'll go with that one. We can figure it out. Highways or back roads? Which one are you taking?
Oh man. Highways, because if you get one slow car in front of you, that's gonna just piss me off.
We talked about road rage.
Yeah.
What's a bucket list place you want to visit?
Italy.
Oh, it's so great there. Sicily was
Italy,
the
yeah.
best. You have
Yeah.
family there?
I was thinking, yeah, Sicily.
Sicily. I have family in Sicily. I went for a wedding. It was amazing.
Yeah, I would be lying if I told you I know where in Italy to go, like a really nice small place or something like that. But any of those small side mountain towns, like where they carve the town or carve everything into the mountain, that's
Where my family is from. It was
yeah.
amazing. It was so cool. We're going. The boys want to go for sure. Actually, Finn just said in the last episode, he wants to go to Venice, where I've never been. So our plan eventually, we're going to start in Sicily and then just work our way up the country with the boys.
I
And
want to do that. We never got a honeymoon, and I think we're gonna try and do that in the next year or two. Just get out there. We'll
highly
see.
recommended. What do we got? Two more questions here. Two more. Football or football?
Football. This is America. No, I'm kidding. Football. Soccer. Just I don't know. It's just
Okay, listen, it's just a
yeah,
question.
yeah, 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 yeah,
It's
yeah.
funny because everyone wants to justify either or, like the like or there's really the only a few people have been like football all day. It's a beautiful game. There's no other question.
They're crazy. No, I'm kidding.
All right, last one, and I feel like you've kind of done this the entire episode, but the best advice you could give to your younger self. Again,
Trust your intuition.
I like it.
Trust your intuition because it's not going to feel right now in the longevity. You're going to look back and just about every time you had a gut feeling to do, think, or act on something or to not let something bother you, you were right.
You know,
Almost every time.
this
Every time.
question too it's great to end the podcast on, right? Because trust your intuition.
Yeah.
Most of my guests, and I really got to work on this supercut and edit it down. It's like a 3-word answer, like trust your intuition. Obviously,
Mhm.
they go a little more in depth into it, but you really
Yeah.
don't even need to because that advice, when you think about yourself 15 years ago, think about yourself yesterday, even trust your intuition. It's just going to make you a better person.
Yeah. And, and I guess kind of where I was going with that as well is, and I don't want to drag this out, but, there's been plenty of times where I'm like, really upset about something or I'm jealous of someone or I wish I had something. And then over time, I look back and I go, ooh, you know what? I knew to stay the course. I knew to ignore that or I knew to let that, whatever that was, not bother me. Thank Christ I followed my gut on this because that could have been bad. Or if, anyone out here is listening is an officer, if you have any inclination in your gut, I need to act, I need to do this decision. If that pops in your head more than once of do this, you better follow it because you're probably right. And if you're not, you'll learn from it.
Yeah, I mean
And
that's the
and
intent. If you're not right, you're going to learn something.
and there's been so many times where I've followed my gut and I'm talking about work specifically. I probably won't say a whole lot to anybody. I'll probably never admit it in public, but there's been a few times where I followed my gut instead of what my brain said. And if I would have followed what my brain said, I would have looked like a complete moron and it would have blown up in my face. But I followed my gut and they're like, man, that was a great call. I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
It
kind of
was
what I
going to
was
happen that
thinking.
way all the time.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
I had it planned. I had it planned.
Yeah. But, leadership is just as much theater as it is competent or it's just as much theater as it is action but you have to have the competence to back it up. You
When
know
I
what I
when
mean?
I get a compliment like that, let's say from someone, I'm like, oh well, I just reached into the pit playbook and that was play 99Z Delta that I pulled out of that one, and they just start laughing now. Like some guys will be like, what play was that?
Yeah. Or my personal favorite where they're like, hey man, thank God you're the officer and thank God you were here today to do X, Y, and Z. And like in my mind, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you were just looking at.
Did I just do something right?
what? Like, I thought, okay.
High
You know what I
fives.
mean?
I'm like, I
And
thank
then, of
God you were here.
course,
That's a good
yeah,
answer to get back to that one too. I thank God it was you.
yeah, that, and then, I mean, my personal one is, hey man, cool as a cucumber. Hey, thanks, I appreciate that. Appreciate your, thanks. But in my mind, I'm like, holy shit. Like, you know what I mean? I
I've
mean,
been
I
there.
may
I've
not
been there.
always admit it, but I mean, there's definitely a lot of times where I'm like in my mind, like, fuck.
It all worked out. Amen. Just like I planned it.
Thank
Just like I planned it. I'm like the A
no,
team, man. Just like I planned.
nobody knows.
I shot this gun a lot of times and no one got hit. Just like the A
Yep.
team. It works
I'm
out
not
good.
going to shoot myself in the foot and tell you what really was going on in my head, but we're going to let this play out better. So,
Awesome, man. Well, listen, this has been a
yes,
great
sir.
chat. And we had this was, again, I had a plan in the beginning and I didn't get to it to the 50-minute mark. So that's just a good conversation
It,
between some like-minded folks. And that's what the Size Up is all about.
and you know what? And I think, I'll just toss this in here at the end too. I think being genuine, and when you're organic with conversations like this, I think it creates the most relatability, and that ties into, be a human. It's okay to be a human. Let other people be a human when you're an officer, and more than a human in general. But since we're here about leadership, let it be organic and let it flow. That's what I do on my podcast. I don't write out anything. It's just, here's a topic and we just let it fly. And I feel like that's the relatability. And as officers, as leaders, I think if you're relatable, you're going to ultimately be successful.
That's it, man. I love it. That is a great way to end it. Just as you froze there for a second and we talked about technical difficulties. So now like the podcast gods are like, get off this podcast. No one wants to hear you talk anymore. This is the way of following the signs that are being given to us.
Your editor is like, Jesus, dude, shut up.
No, Sebi loves listening to me talk, I
Just
think.
kidding.
If he even does listen to me talk anymore, he's probably given up on it. But
I
listen, man,
say that I say that in jest, but
I
yes.
can't. Oh, he's a great guy. We love Sebi. And I like to say his name a lot in the podcast because when he comes on an episode with Jeremy and I, he doesn't talk. He just kind of says a few things. So the goal is for me to bring him up every episode, and I've done it multiple times today. So I've
Make it
achieved.
awkward.
That's it. So listen, Mike, I can't thank you enough, man.
Yeah.
It's been a great time, and we got a lot of great content here, and I look forward to having you on again, and we can kind of continue
Yeah.
this conversation and see where it goes. So
Yeah.
for,
No, thank you
for
for your
Pip,
time, dude. Anytime. Just, you know how to get a hold of me. Please, by all means, reach out.
that's it.
And I
And
appreciate it.
to bad host, where does everybody find you?
So just search Tip of the Spear Leadership Podcast on any podcast. It'll come up. I should be on all platforms. If you go to Instagram, it's just Tip of the Spear Leadership with underscores in between it. I'll come right up. I'm on Facebook. Again, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram.
The Google.
Search
Just say
Tip
the
of the
Google
Spear
machine.
Leadership.
The Google
What's that?
machine. That's what I say. Just use the Google machine. Tip of the Spear Leadership. All the
It
links.
should, yeah. I haven't Googled myself before. It should come up. I
Oh,
don't
you
know.
have you would come up with. I think you did because that's how I found the LinkedIn.
Okay.
The LinkedIn quotes was I just Googled it because I use the Google machine all the time. So
Gotcha.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not that smart. Google's my homie.
I don't know how you feel. That and grammar check. They're all
Oh God.
worth their weight in gold. But yeah, that's where you find me. And then if anyone wants to email me, is just Tip of the Spear Leadership with periods in between at Gmail.
That it is. There's lots of periods when you type in the email address.
It's still a lot of periods. I don't know why I did that.
I was
don't
curious
abbreviate
myself
it.
as I was like period. Period.
I guess I didn't think about that, but like the alternative to short it would be TOTS Leadership, and that just sounds terrible.
Oh, you don't want that one. Yeah.
No, TSL Leadership.
It's bad when you name something and then try to abbreviate it and you're like, this doesn't work. Like,
yeah. No, I can't do it because I always think of the TOTS episode from The Office.
Oh yeah. I was
with,
actually with Napoleon. Give me your tots. So
Scott's Tots. I hated that episode. So that's Mike Scott's Tots. That's what I always think about. So
listen, man, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you everybody for listening. And for the Size Up by National Fire Radio, this is Pip, because what you do off the job matters. Later.
National Fire Radio.